to be at least 55 years old to live in the community. It's a affluent neighborhood, and at this time we're being told that there is a fire line on the scene to fight the fire if it approached those homes. We're talking about approximately 1,000 homes in that location, and it appears from where I'm standing right now, I had to stop in order to do this interview, but I'm about 800 yards away from the neighborhood. The fire's got to be about at least 2 to 3 miles north of Oakmont at this point.
Henry, we've been talking about air quality throughout the morning and throughout the week. On our screen, we have a map showing the air quality situation. Obviously, you can't see it, but what can you tell us about the air quality where you are?
You know, the air quality where I'm standing right now is not bad. However, I can tell you right now, when I do approach the Oakmont area, it's going to be significantly worse. I'm having a hard time even looking through the smoke, and it's only about, like I said, 800 yards away from me.
Yeah.
Pretty clear where I am, but that's because the wind is blowing away from me. It's blowing at my back, so I don't have anything coming toward my face at this point. Still have a mask on. I can tell you right now, there are a lot of people that's leaving. In fact, there was a guy on a bullhorn recently, a police officer, reminding everyone to leave and leave now. Now, this is a wide open area, but Marty, you would think there'd be more green grass based on all the rain that we had during the last winter. That's not the case. Everything here is dead. I mean, extremely dead. So you could see how quickly and how easily it would be for a fire to spread in this area. I'm picking up grass and just filling it right now, and it's as dry as hay. I mean, it is very, very dry. Nothing but fuel for a wildfire, which is not good news at all. The winds have dropped down. Earlier this morning when I started my shift around 4 o'clock in the morning, the winds were pretty gusty. Right now, somewhat calm, and like I said, it's still one of the worst things we can talk about right now is how dry the area is.
Henry, just
down Highway 12.
Henry, just one thing to keep an eye out for. We were talking to CAL FIRE in the last hour. They mentioned that the aerial drops should be starting just about now, sometime after 8 o'clock this morning. They said that the tankers would be taken to the sky, so something to keep an eye out for, and also some great news for the people who are worried about their homes in that area.
Absolutely. The one thing, if you're living in the Oakmont area, believe me, there's an entire fire line over here looking to protect those homes. And that's because, as I was told, there's over 1,000 homes in this area, retirement community. They're protecting those homes. There's a couple of homes spread out in the hills, and I don't see any fire protection in that area, but they're basically grouping it by the largest amount of homes in the same area, protect that line and keep it from penetrating past that line in order to ignite more dead grass out in this area.
Yeah. Henry?
So we did have a fire basically between the Tubbs fire and the Nuns fire that are part of the Central LNU complex fires that began yesterday up off of Picayune Road, which is off of Highway 12. The fire did increase in activity overnight, and we did experience some winds and still are experiencing some winds in the higher elevations. And that fire is pushing down between those two fires down toward Highway 12, which is why we did the additional evacuations in the Santa Rosa area that that you were just mentioning.
Yeah.
There was some more activity over on the Sonoma side in the area, the 7th Street and 8th Street areas that you were mentioning. People have evacuated from there. People have evacuated from the whole Santa Rosa area. They're ordered to go to an evacuation shelter. As far as I know, everyone is cooperating, and we have a lot of resources heading to both of those areas and are in the areas already.
What's the situation with the air tankers this morning?
We do have, let's see, as of 14 minutes ago, our air attack will be up to recon the area and figure out which aircraft to put where. We have a lot of resources as far as air incident already. A lot of helicopters assigned. They will assess the situation and start plugging in our aircraft where they're needed on those specific fires.
And what can you tell us about the firefighters and the crews? How are they doing? We understand you have some 9,000 firefighters on the front lines.
Yeah, it's been very busy over here at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. I've been here at 3 in the morning, somewhere in that hour, and we've seen a lot of resources coming in and out of here. There's, on this fire, the central complex, there's nearly 3,000 firefighters assigned here. So we have a lot of resources here. They're being fed, and they've gotten some rest, and we're doing good.
I understand that there are firefighters from across the country helping out.
There are. I haven't heard the latest on where everybody is from, but it's been amazing. I've seen a map where it's showing people from Alaska, all throughout the United States. It's amazing to see all the support and all the different agencies that are coming here to help us.
Amy, it seems today the major issue is going to be the wind. Is that right?
That's correct. We had a red flag warning in effect that winds could have materialized in around midnight was what we were predicting. They're a little late on that is what I'm hearing from the Weather Service. So they did develop in the higher elevations, which is where a lot of these fires are burning, in the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock hour. And I think the red flag is supposed to go to about 11 o'clock this morning. Down here in the valley area, it's really light winds. So we're really concerned with the higher elevations where these fires are burning.
Yeah, Amy, the other big issue, of course, is the air quality, not just in the North Bay, but also throughout the region. That continues to be a problem, doesn't it?
With evacuations this morning. At that point, we went to the fire scene to make sure that the roadways were open. And that is our major goal, though, is to keep the roads open so we get the fire equipment in where it's needed.
Yeah. How has the situation changed for you this week as you've been busy day after day after day? Are you seeing progress? What exactly are you seeing from your perspective?
Well, the areas that have already been affected, that were really devastated, we still have locked down pretty tight. And the biggest issue we've had this week is residents showing some understandable frustration that they can't get back to their homes. And, you know, our officers understand that, but we've got these neighborhoods locked down for several reasons. Safety is number one. We don't want to send anybody back into a neighborhood that might be unsafe, that does not have power or water. So we're working with our utilities and public safety partners to make sure that that happens. And we're worried about looters. We've had a few arrests for looting in these areas, and the tighter we can lock down a neighborhood to everybody, the better we can protect the property.
Have you found, for the most part, that people have been willing to go when you have a mandatory evacuation?
For the most part, yes. We have come across a few that we had to tell, you know, this is a mandatory evacuation. If you choose to stay, do not expect rescue.
Yeah.
We don't have enough personnel. But for the most part, they have. And we urge people that are not under evacuation, definitely have the belongings you want to take with you ready to go. That way, if it comes up fast, which it did last Sunday and Monday, you just have to grab those things and get out. But until that time, please stay off the roads so that we can keep it clear for firefighting equipment.
John, in your experience, have you ever seen anything like this past week?
Never. And I was not on the job when the Oakland fires occurred, but talking to those officers that were, they say this is far, far worse. Probably the worst disaster I'll see in my career.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for your service, and we'll be checking in with you throughout the morning. Thank you for spending some time with us. That's John Sloat with the CHP in Santa Rosa. I want to tell you about those who have evacuations in Sonoma County overnight. Excuse me. We want to go live to Camila Bernal, who is in Sonoma. She has the latest on that. Camila, good morning.
Marty, good morning. I am on East Napa Street and 6th Street East, just a block away from 7th Street, which are long. They're also asking that you be very respectful of the road closures. They are not letting anyone in no matter what. They're not letting reporters, they're not letting residents cross through these streets, and they're even telling residents that they could get arrested if they're seen crossing into these streets. So basically, you either have to be inside your home or you have to be on your way out. Other than that, there is nobody on the streets and nobody is allowed in this area. Earlier in the day, we were able to see the flames. We were able to see the fire not very far away. Now you don't really see the fire, you just see a lot of the smoke. But there is definitely more mandatory evacuations. Let's take a look at the graphics so that we can explain where these evacuations are. Mandatory evacuations in Sonoma Valley are on 7th Street East from East Napa Street to Denmark Street. They're on the north side of Denmark Street from 7th Street East to Napa Road. They're on 8th Street East, north of Denmark Road, East MacArthur Street, east of 7th Street East. It's Quail Run Way and Hamblin Road. All of it under mandatory evacuation. They're asking that if you're in that area, you get out as soon as possible. Now let's go over to Santa Rosa. The mandatory evacuations in Santa Rosa are east of Calistoga Road to the city of Santa Rosa limits and north of Melita Road to the city of Santa Rosa limits. This includes all of Skyhawk, Oakmont, and much of Rincon Valley. They're asking you to evacuate immediately. So again, the area where I am standing is under voluntary evacuation. If you're under a voluntary evacuation, that advisory just means you have to be ready. You have to have your bags packed. You just have to be ready to go at any moment because they can come knocking on your door and you might only have seconds.
A voluntary evacuation, but according to the officer you spoke to, it may not be that way longer. It could turn to a mandatory evacuation. Is that right?
Correct. Those were his exact words. I asked him, is this area under mandatory evacuation? And he said, it's not, but it might not be for long, which is why people have to be ready and they have to be paying attention. And they just have to be very careful because in a matter of minutes, in a matter of hours, it could be a mandatory evacuation zone. So just people have to have their bags packed and be completely ready. We just never know. It might not be, it might not get to that point, but there is a possibility that it would become a mandatory evacuation zone and people have to be ready.
Yeah, and as we've learned that lesson time and over the past week. Thank you, Camila. Camila Bernal reporting for us from Sonoma. I want to go now to Dave Cannon. He's a photographer who has been who shot some of the video of the fire this morning. Dave, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell us about your situation and what it was like to shoot some of that harrowing footage that we have on our screen now?
Yes, I can. Well, this is very reminiscent of the Sunday night, early Monday morning fires that I shot in Napa. As you know, we've been dealing with these for seems like almost a week now, but I got up today. I was woken up on my radio at my bedside, and I heard them calling some extra strike team. So I went out to see what was going on, and when I got to the valley floor of Sonoma, the whole entire hillside was just lit up bright orange, and you could tell there was a decent wind on it. And the first thing I noticed was that the Sonoma Sheriff Department and other police agencies that are assisting were going up and down the block, saying to the residents on their loudspeaker, "This is the Sheriff Department, get out now. This is the Sheriff's Department, get out now." So I knew it was a very serious situation, and I eventually worked my way up to one of the roads that I felt the fire was making progress on, and As some of that video that you may or may not be showing right now, I found basically a wall of flames, and I got out, and the embers were blowing, just swirling all around. The wind was whipping up. The fire had a very, very strong foothold, and I was pretty sure there was a residence that was on fire a little bit in the foreground. I could hear the explosions, etc. But yeah, it was very, very reminiscent of last Monday, and I thought to myself, here we go again.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of folks who've been covering this fire is saying, here we go again. Dave, what can you tell us about, put your camera down, and just as someone who's viewing this and seeing people's homes go up in flames, their homes, their memories, everything they have, what's going through your mind?
Well, it's when I have time to think about it, that's when the sadness starts to set in, because I do realize that people are losing just an enormous amount